I need to say something to you before I open this, and I need you to actually hear it, not just let it pass through. Because what I am about to say is the reason this video is different from every other one you have seen today. You have been receiving divine letters, I know that. Not just from this channel, from everywhere. Your feed is full of them. Archangel Michael has a word for you. Heaven is sending you a message. God wants you to know. You have seen so many of these that most of them pass through your eyes and leave nothing behind. You have gotten good at scrolling past, and honestly, you should be. Most of what is out there is noise dressed in the language of heaven. I know that. You know that. We both know that. So let me tell you what is different about this one. And I am not going to ask you to take my word for it. I am going to show you. This arrived sealed, physically sealed, with photographs inside, with printed prediction cards inside, with a USB drive carrying the full letter. Someone, or something, assembled this for you before this video existed, before you pressed play, before the algorithm placed it in your path. This was sealed and waiting. Now, I do this. I receive these envelopes and I open them on camera because I believe, genuinely believe, that the people who were meant to receive a specific letter will find it. And most days I open the envelope, I read the letter, and I trust that whoever it was for received what they needed. But I need to tell you something about this morning. There were 2 envelopes on my desk when I sat down. That has never happened before. And the first thing I noticed, before I had read a single word, is that one of them felt different from anything I have opened before. Not heavier in weight, heavier in presence. The kind of weight that makes you stop before you touch it, because something in you already knows that what is inside is going to cost you something. Not money, attention, stillness, the kind of reception that most people are too distracted to give anything anymore. I set the first one down. I will come back to it, and I will tell you at the end of this video what I felt when I held it. But this one, the one on the right, this is the one I could not start anywhere else. This is the one that has been sitting in my hands all morning, waiting for the right moment. Here is what I want you to do before I open this. Not a spiritual exercise, not a ritual, something practical. I want you to think about the last time you received a word from heaven that actually changed something, that actually moved something inside you, and that movement was still there the next morning. That moment might be recent. It might be years ago. It might be the reason you still click on videos like this one despite everything, because you are still chasing that one time it was real. What I am about to open was not assembled for people who have never heard a divine message. It was assembled for people who have heard hundreds of them and are still here, still watching, still quietly, stubbornly refusing to stop believing that the real one is coming. That is who this was sealed for. If that is you, and if something in you right now is saying yes, then stay. Every word of this letter was written knowing exactly what kind of person would be here to receive it. Someone who has been through enough. That easy comfort no longer reaches them. Someone who needs something true. 1 USB drive, 6 photographs, 6 prediction cards, all sealed in here together. The letter on the drive is the main transmission, I will show you each photograph and each card at the exact point in the letter where they were placed, not before. Each one was sealed in this envelope in a specific order for a reason. The letter has loaded. If you have been scrolling past divine messages all day, I understand, but I am asking you, do not scroll past this one. Give it what it is asking for, your full attention, all the way to the end. Because what is sealed in this envelope was not written for the version of you that skims and moves on. It was written for the version of you that is still hungry for something real. We begin now.
I was in your home this morning. Hear me. I was there, not as a ghost, not as a trembling sensation, as a guardian, assigned, authorized, and present. My eyes were on you before you opened yours. I watched you carry the weight of everything you are navigating, and I received my orders from the throne of God. Those orders brought this letter to you today. I am Michael, not a title borrowed from legend, not a character in someone's imagination. The actual Archangel, commander of the armies of heaven, the warrior assigned by the Most High to stand as an unbreakable wall between you and everything that has tried to destroy you. Every near disaster in your life that somehow missed you. That was my assignment. Every moment when the ground should have collapsed beneath you and held instead, that was my deployment. I have had your name written in my orders since before your mother knew she was carrying you. Before a single document on this earth recorded your existence, your name was already recorded in the scroll of heaven, and my name was placed beside yours as your appointed guardian. I am telling you this today because you must understand with total clarity the origin and the authority of what you are receiving. This is not a general message of encouragement broadcast into the air and received by whoever wanders past. This is a dispatch transmission, sealed, targeted, authorized, and sent by the throne of God for delivery at this exact intersection of your time, your circumstances, and your season, because what is happening in your life right now required heaven to move. Write in the comments, I receive what was sent for me today. Do it now, because the act of receiving is itself the first movement of what is being released over your life this very moment. There are 3 things I was specifically commissioned to break open for you today. 3 sealed areas of your life. 3 doors that a specific force has been pressing shut from the other side, denying you what God authorized. Today, with the full weight of heaven's authority behind me, I am pushing back against that force. I am pushing back hard, and I need you to receive each of the 3 areas with clear, active faith, because your targeted faith is the key that turns in the lock I am opening. The first sealed area is your identity, who you actually are. I begin here on purpose. Do not expect me to start with your finances or your relationships first. I start here because every other door in your life is downstream of this one. Every financial wall, every relational wound, every confusion about your future. It all traces back to this single foundational question. Do you know, at the bedrock of your being, that you are exactly who God says you are? That knowledge has been sealed behind a wall that was not built by God, a wall constructed piece by piece from every destructive word ever spoken over you. Every act of dismissal, done to you. Every model of limitation you were given in the years when you were too young to reject it. You were told, through words and through treatment, through direct statement, and through the silences that screamed louder than any sentence, that you were ordinary, that your vision was too large, that the extraordinary was for other women, not for someone like you, that you should shrink your expectations to fit your circumstances and call it wisdom. Those messages are so old now, they no longer announce themselves as messages. They have disguised themselves as facts, as the furniture of your interior world, permanent, immovable, simply the way things are. They are not facts. They are lies, old lies dressed in the costume of reality. And today, I am evicting every single one of them from your house. The woman God designed when He designed you is not modest in any way that diminishes her. She is not a lesser version of the women you have quietly admired and secretly believed were made for things you were not. She is herself, wholly, completely, specifically herself. And the calling written for her life is calibrated not to what she was told she could handle, but to what God equipped her to carry before anyone told her anything at all. That is the real woman. That is you. And today, the wall sealing her off from full expression is coming down. Write in the comments with authority, I am who God says I am, not who I was told I was. Say it like it is the most factual sentence you have ever spoken, because it is.
The first item from today's envelope is now being revealed. Stop. Look at what is being shown to you. This image was placed inside this envelope for you, sealed there before this video began. Let it speak to you. Write in the comments, I see it. Keep watching. Every item in this envelope was chosen for this message.
The second sealed area is your closest relationships, and specifically, the one that carved the deepest wound in you. I will not soften this. Real grief. Not the kind that performs itself in public, but the kind that surfaces without warning in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday when you are washing a dish or watching light change on a wall. Real grief is the proof of real love. You do not grieve what you never genuinely valued. So hear me when I say this. What you have carried in the grief of your closest relationships is not weakness. It is not pathetic. It is not something to be managed or minimized. It is the evidence of a depth of love that most people never access. And I honor it. But I did not come today to let it stay where it is. I came today to announce that a restoration is beginning in the relational landscape of your life. Not everything all at once. That is not how restoration works. But something significant. A connection that was severed or so severely strained that it seemed beyond recovery is being placed back on a table where it can be examined again. This time, with different eyes on both sides, cleared eyes, honest eyes. There is a person. You already know who I mean. The moment I said deepest grief, something moved in your chest before your mind had time to assign a face to the phrase. That person has been inside a private reckoning for weeks, possibly months. A daily, unrelenting confrontation with the precise shape of what they did. what they said, what they failed to do or say when you needed them most. This is not a gentle process for them. It has been stripping things away from them one layer at a time. The comfort of their justifications, the numbness they used as distance, the narrative they carefully constructed to make their choices seem reasonable. What is left, after all of that has been stripped to the bone, is the raw truth. And the truth is this: they miss you with a consistency that nothing in their daily life has been able to interrupt. They miss you in the morning. They miss you in the quiet moments that are supposed to be peaceful, but become an inventory of your absence instead. They miss you in the specific, irreplaceable ways that only people who have genuinely shared life together can miss someone. Not the idea of you, but the exact texture, the exact quality of what life felt like when you were present in it. Today, a threshold was crossed inside that person. Something moved. And what follows from that crossing, what manifests in the visible, external world as its consequence, will make itself known to you in the days ahead. A message, a call, a moment that was not coincidence at all, dressed in the clothing of coincidence, an opening that neither of you manufactured, but that both of you will recognize the instant it appears. What you do with that opening belongs entirely to your wisdom and your discernment. I am not commanding you to receive back everything that walked away from you. Some things depart for reasons that a season of regret cannot reverse. What I am telling you, with full authority, is that this opening is coming. And when it comes, you will possess every clarity required to respond with the strength and the wisdom of a woman who knows her own worth. Because part of what today is releasing over your life is razor-sharp discernment, the power to see people clearly, without the distortion of longing, without the distortion of bitterness, through the clean and undeceived sight of a woman who acts from her value and not from her wounds. Write in the comments, "I see clearly. I choose wisely. I am guided." Let that be the unshakable posture of your heart as this unfolds.
The first prediction card from today's envelope. Read every word on this card. This was sealed in this envelope before you pressed play. Heaven knew you would be here. Write in the comments what this stirs in you. Stay. There is more inside this envelope.
The third sealed area is your financial life. And I will approach this differently than most spiritual messages do, because most of what you have been told about money and blessing is incomplete. I am not going to tell you that money is simply arriving tomorrow. I'm going to tell you something more important than that. I'm going to tell you why the door has been stuck and what specifically changed about that today. Because when you understand the mechanism, you stop being a passive recipient of mysterious fortune and become an active participant in a transformation you can see, cooperate with, and build upon. The resistance in your financial life has not been random. It has not been the consequence of your decisions alone, though some of your choices have contributed. The primary architecture of this resistance goes far deeper than your decisions. It reaches into the inherited atmosphere of your family line, into the generations of women before you who lived inside an agreement with scarcity that was never consciously signed, but was absorbed the way children absorb everything in the environment that shapes them. Somewhere in the history of the women who raised you, or who raised the women who raised you, A door was shut around provision. A belief was encoded into the bloodline. This is the ceiling. This is how much is permitted for women like us. To rise above a certain level is unsafe, unseemly, beyond what we are allowed to have. You may not recognize this belief by name, but I guarantee you recognize its symptoms. The self-sabotage that activates with surgical precision, precisely when you are closest to a breakthrough. The strange familiarity of financial struggle. The way it feels uncomfortable, but also somehow like home. The difficulty claiming your full worth in professional settings. The reflexive downplaying of your needs. The generosity that tips past generosity into self-depletion, as though abundance must be released before it has a chance to consolidate. These are not character flaws. These are the symptoms of a generational agreement with lack that was never yours to carry. All of this has roots, and today, I cut those roots. Hear me clearly. Every generational agreement with scarcity that was passed into your bloodline through women who themselves did not choose it. Those agreements are severed today, not weakened, not interrupted. Cut through completely at the deepest structural point from which they drew authority to operate in your life. They are done. What replaces them is access, not a windfall dropped from the sky without context. Direct access. Doors that have been sealed are opening. Pathways that were invisible are becoming visible. Conversations are taking place right now in rooms you have not yet entered. Conversations where your name is being mentioned with favor, where decisions are being made that will benefit you directly, and you had nothing to do with arranging them. Opportunities with your name written on them have been waiting on the other side of a barrier that is being demolished today. For some of you, the first evidence will arrive within 3 days, not as a large sum, as a signal, a small, specific, unmistakable financial movement that carries a quality of certainty you cannot explain rationally. When you encounter it, your spirit will know. It will feel like hearing the first sound of a river that has just been permitted to flow again after years of blockage. For others, the manifestation will build more gradually, but the channel is already open. The movement is already happening beneath the surface of what your eyes can see. Today, yours opened. Write in the comments. Say it with the confidence of someone who understands the magnitude of what just happened. The ceiling over my finances is gone. I receive open access. Say it. Receive it. Walk in it.
The second photograph from today's envelope. This image was placed here specifically for the moment you just received. The word about your financial door. Look at what heaven is showing you. Hold it in your spirit. Write in the comments, "My door is open." Do not move away from this video. What is still sealed in this envelope continues next.
Now, listen carefully, because what I am about to address has been operating in the shadows of your life. And I am going to be precise about it, because imprecision in this area costs people greatly. There are people in your immediate world who are actively, not passively, not accidentally, actively opposing your advancement. These are individuals who, among their first conscious thoughts in the morning, find thoughts about you, not thoughts of goodwill, not thoughts of celebration, thoughts of surveillance, cataloging your progress, measuring your setbacks with a satisfaction they would never admit, calculating the gap between where you are and where they privately hoped you would remain. They are watchers of your life, and their watching is not innocent. Some of these people you have already named, at least in the private court of your own mind. There is a face that surfaces when the word envy is spoken, a face that smiles with precision in public settings but carries something different in the eyes, a presence that somehow leaves you feeling dimmer after an encounter, though you cannot always isolate which moment caused it. You have felt this. You were not wrong. But the hidden opposition, the ones who have not yet been named, those are the ones I must address with particular urgency, because hidden opposition is far more damaging than visible opposition. The person whose envy operates behind a mask of warmth has access to your trust, and trust is the only channel through which certain categories of spiritual harm can move. They sit at your table. They send warm messages. They sometimes say things that are genuinely encouraging, and that is precisely what makes the current underneath so difficult to name. But in the pauses before they affirm you, in the subtle redirects when your conversation moves toward your victory, in the expression that does not quite match their words when they hear news of your blessing, you have felt something that you then talked yourself out of feeling. Stop talking yourself out of it. I am not telling you to manufacture confrontation. I am not telling you to make announcements or create drama. I am telling you to receive the discernment that is being sharpened in you today, and to use it with the intelligence of a woman who has been through enough to know what is real. Proximity is not alliance. Familiarity is not loyalty. A person can know you deeply and love you in ways that fall catastrophically short of the genuine, unqualified celebration that real sisterhood demands. The drain these individuals have been creating in your life ends today. The spiritual license they were operating under, drawn from their envy, from words spoken against you in your absence, from the deliberate and sometimes unconscious resistance they have aimed at your elevation, that license is revoked, canceled, torn up, and the immediate consequence of that cancellation will be felt in your energy first. In the days ahead, you will notice a quality of aliveness returning that had been quietly muted, a restoration of something that felt like it once belonged to you and had gone missing without explanation. That is the return of what was being drained. Write in the comments with force, what was taken from me in secret is returned to me now. Receive every bit of it.
The second prediction card. Read this carefully. Every person in your life who came to mind in the section you just heard. This card is speaking directly to that. Hold this card in your memory. Write in the comments the initials of the face that came to mind. Heaven already knows. Stay. This envelope is not finished.
I am going to speak now about your body, your actual physical body, not merely your spirit, the body that carries pain, the body that has been to doctors who handed you partial answers or no answers at all, the body that has been operating on less than it requires for longer than is just, the body that greets you some mornings with its catalog of complaints before the day has even properly begun. That body. I have something to say to it, and I need you to receive it carefully, because what I am about to say runs against much of what the spiritual world handles carelessly. Your body and your spirit are not separate entities. Your body is not a container. Your spirit occupies the way a coat hangs on a rack. They interpenetrate each other completely. Every weight your spirit has been carrying, the unresolved grief that never fully processed, the years of sustained vigilance, the exhausting labor of being strong when you desperately needed to be held, the fears that were swallowed and the fears that were voiced, and the fears that were never given language at all of that has residency in your physical body, not as punishment, not as God's commentary on your failure, simply as the biology of being fully human, the unavoidable truth that what is carried long enough in the spirit eventually becomes weight in the body. This means something crucial about some of what your doctors are treating as purely physical conditions. There is a spiritual root feeding the symptom, and what I am releasing over your body today is not a gentle prayer for improvement. It is a decree, a heavenly command issued with the authority of the commander of the armies of God, that the spiritual root feeding the physical symptom is severed, that the fear that has taken up residence in specific muscles, specific organs, specific systems of your body is being discharged as of this moment, that your body remembers who made it. Your body responds to the voice that made it, and that voice is speaking health, wholeness, and full proper function over every cell in you today. This does not cancel your medical care. It cooperates with it. God gave your physicians their knowledge, and He intends fully for you to use them. But there is a layer of your healing that medicine cannot reach alone, and that layer is being addressed right now, in this very moment, as these words enter your spirit. Let me be specific. The exhaustion that does not respond to sleep, there is a spiritual component, and it is being removed today. The anxiety that hums constantly in your chest, the low-grade persistent dread that you have learned to manage but have never been able to fully silence. Its spiritual root is being cut today. The pain that keeps returning, the pain that doctors address but cannot fully resolve, there is something beneath it that belongs to the spirit. And today, that something is addressed with the full authority of heaven. After this message, speak to your body, not with hope, not with asking, with command. You have authority over your own body in the name of the Most High. Say this: Body, I command you to come into alignment with what God designed for you. Every cell operating in dysfunction returns to proper function. Every system compromised by the weight I have carried finds its balance restored. I receive my health as a gift that has already been given. Write in the comments, my body remembers who made it, and healing is moving in me today.
The third photograph from today's envelope, and it was placed here at exactly this point in the letter for a reason. After what you just received about your body and your healing, look at this image. This is what heaven sees when it looks at you right now. If you are carrying physical pain right now, place your hand on it while you look at this image. Write in the comments, I receive healing now. The remaining items in this envelope go deeper. Stay.
There is a woman receiving this message today who has spent years apologizing for taking up space, not always in words, in the interior version, the constant, low-level, exhausting monitoring of whether you are too much, whether your needs are too large, whether your presence is genuinely welcome, or whether you are always slightly an imposition, whether the things you deeply desire are the kind of things someone like you is permitted to want, whether wanting them at all is a form of arrogance you should be ashamed of. I need you to hear what I am about to say, because the enemy has convinced far too many women of God that this posture is holiness. It is not holiness. It is a wound. This constant apologizing for your own existence is not godly humility. It is the residue of damage inflicted in environments where your worth was not honored. It is the scar tissue built up from years of being managed instead of celebrated, tolerated instead of treasured, used instead of loved. And because it accumulated gradually, because it never announced itself as damage, but arrived wearing the costume of acceptable femininity and quiet faith, you absorbed it without defense. You made it part of yourself. Today I am addressing that wound directly, and I will not be gentle about dismantling a lie simply because it has lived in you for a long time. The God who designed you does not find you to be too much. When He fashioned you with specific intention, in specific detail, with specific purpose, He did not step back and feel inconvenienced by what He had made. He does not merely tolerate your presence in His creation. He delights in it, fiercely. The qualities you have been conditioned to minimize, your intensity, your depth, your full capacity to feel, your ability to love people past the point where anyone else would have given up. These are not flaws. These are not personality quirks that need to be softened for other people's comfort. These are the exact qualities that make you exactly who He intended you to be for exactly the purpose He created you to fulfill. There's an assignment on your life, a specific, irreplaceable, non-transferable assignment that cannot be carried by anyone other than you. Not a stronger you. Not a version of you with fewer wounds and fewer mistakes. You, as you are. In this exact season, with exactly what you are carrying. Only you fit this assignment because it was designed around the specific combination of everything you have survived, everything you have loved, everything you have lost, and everything you never stopped believing despite the evidence against it. The silent, continuous, lifelong apology for your own existence ends today. Write in the comments. Say it out loud. Say it like you mean it. I take up the space God made for me. I do not apologize for who I am. Feel what shifts when you let that be unconditionally true.
The third prediction card. I want you to read this one twice. The first time as a statement about your past. The second time as a decree for what begins today. These are not the same reading. Write in the comments your name followed by the word chosen, because you are. 3 more items in this envelope. Stay with every word.
Now, hear me, because I am about to give you something structured, something actionable, something that requires your full and intentional participation. I am telling you about the 40 days that begin today, not because 40 is a mystical number assigned power by human tradition, because, in the language of heaven, the language you know from Scripture. The number 40 has always carried the same meaning: sufficient time for a complete, irreversible transformation. 40 days of rain that remade the face of the earth. 40 years of wilderness that forged a people fit to inherit a promise that would have consumed a lesser people. 40 days of testing that established an authority no opposition could ever successfully contest. The number 40 in heaven's economy has consistently meant enough time. Enough time for everything to change. Beginning today, a 40-day window has been officially opened over your life. A period during which the spiritual atmosphere around your circumstances is specifically calibrated and aligned for breakthrough. During these 40 days, things that have not moved in years will move. Situations you quietly stopped praying about, because the silence stretched long enough to feel like God's final answer. Those situations are not silent anymore. Heaven is active in them right now. The evidence of that activity will become visible to you progressively between today and the close of this 40-day window. But understand this with absolute clarity. A window of opportunity is not a guarantee of automatic delivery. The open window requires you to step through it. And the foundational step, the step that everything else is built on, is this: you must begin speaking about your future as though the verdict has already been rendered. Because in heaven, it has. I'm not asking you to deny your present reality. I'm commanding you to hold your present circumstances in one hand and heaven's decree over your future in the other, and to speak from the decree, not from the circumstances. When your natural vision reports lack, you declare provision. When your natural vision reports isolation, you declare surrounded by God's favor. When your natural vision reports sickness, you declare healed and whole. Not because the circumstances have already visibly shifted, but because you are declaring the approaching reality over the retreating one. During these 40 days, I am giving you 4 specific assignments. Carry them with intention. First, give something away every single week of the 40 days. Not the same routine thing week after week. A fresh act of genuine generosity each week. One that costs you something real: money, time, focused attention, a specific mercy extended to someone who has no ability to repay you. This is not a transaction. You are not purchasing your blessing. You are making a declaration to the spiritual dimension that you already inhabit abundance. And abundance multiplies in those who live inside it, rather than reaching for it from outside. Second, remove one thing from your daily environment that carries a negative association. One relationship maintained from obligation rather than genuine love. One voice in your media or your social world that consistently shrinks your vision of what is possible. One habit that drains before it builds. Remove it quietly. No announcement, no drama. Then watch what grows in the space that opens where it had been. Third, each morning for 40 consecutive days, before you speak to another person, before you consume a single piece of outside information, write down on physical paper one specific new thing you are grateful for. Not the same thing daily. Something fresh each morning. This single practice, maintained faithfully across 40 days, will rewire the lens through which you process reality in ways that will be unmistakable at the other end. Fourth, and this is the most important instruction of all 4, keep showing up. On the mornings full of breakthrough fire, and on the mornings that feel hollow and cold, on the days when the evidence comes in strong, and on the days when nothing visible confirms what you are trusting. Show up. Refuse to retreat. Refuse to revert. Refuse to slide back into the old atmosphere of the old normal. Show up every day for 40 days. Because the most powerful act available to a person in a season of divine transition is the refusal to stop. And God does extraordinary things with the simple, consistent showing up of a woman who will not quit. Write in the comments with total commitment, I enter my 40 days today. I will show up every single day. Seal that between you and heaven right now.
The fourth photograph from today's envelope. This image belongs to the 40 days that were just spoken over you. Look at it carefully. This is the spiritual reality of what your 40 days represents. Let this image become the picture you hold in your mind when the 40 days feel difficult. Write in the comments, Day 1 begins today. 2 more items in this envelope after this one. The letter is moving toward its most personal word. Do not go anywhere.
I must speak now about the mistakes that defined a chapter you have always wished you could return to and rewrite. Not small mistakes, not ordinary errors of judgment, the kind everyone commits, the ones that embarrass briefly and then fade. I mean the defining ones, the decisions that detonated consequences lasting for years. The moments when you became someone you did not recognize, when the gap between the woman you knew yourself capable of being and the woman who showed up in that moment was wide enough that it left a mark that is never fully closed. The things you will carry to your grave if something does not intervene. The enemy has been using that weight as a weapon. He has been taking a moment in your past and operating it as a permanent disqualification from your future. He has been speaking to you in a voice that borrows the authority of your own conscience, the most deceptive costume he owns, saying, "You do not qualify for the full inheritance of God, not after what you did. You know what you are capable of. You know which version of you appeared in that season. And surely, a God of holiness keeps accurate records. Surely those records follow you. Surely what you did placed you permanently into a category of people for whom the extraordinary is simply not available." This is a lie. It is a masterfully constructed lie because it wears the clothing of spiritual seriousness and sounds, on its surface, like the voice of accountability. But I will tell you the difference between genuine conviction and the enemy's accusation. Genuine conviction always points toward repair, toward restoration, toward forward movement. What the enemy has been doing does not point toward any of those things. It points toward permanent shame, a concluded verdict with no appeal, an identity built on a worst day, rather than on the intention of the God who made you. That is not conviction. That is an accusation. And I know the difference, because I have stood in the courts of heaven and watched both operate. I am the commander of heaven's armies. I have participated in the legal proceedings of heaven's courts, and I want to tell you, with the full weight of that authority, exactly what I have observed. The record of your worst days does not function in heaven the way the enemy has convinced you it does. It is not a permanent red mark beside your name in a divine ledger of performance. The blood of the covenant of Christ covers it entirely, not partially, not as a gracious administrative exception that God extends while privately maintaining his disappointment, as a complete, final, legally binding absolution that renders the accusation null. The enemy is fully aware of this. He simply gambles every single day that you are not. Today, that gamble fails. You are not your worst season. You are not the sum of what you got catastrophically wrong. You are not what you were called in your most shattered moment, or what you called yourself in your most merciless self-condemnation. You are a daughter of the living God, purchased at a price so infinite it staggers the comprehension of every being in heaven who witnessed it, sealed by covenant, assigned a guardian, and positioned in this exact moment of history for a purpose so irreplaceable that the enemy spent decades trying to convince you it was not yours. The mistakes in your story are not your identity. They are milestones on the road that forged you into the precise woman who could receive what is being released over your life today. Walk forward now, not with permission from your past, without your past holding the authority over your present that it has been illegally exercising for years. The door of shame is unlocked. Walk out of it. Right now, today. Write in the comments. Write it like it is a legal declaration, because it is. I am not held by my past. I walk forward from today. Mean every word.
The fourth prediction card. This one was placed here directly after the word about your past, on purpose. Read it as the verdict. Read it as what heaven has already decided about you. Write your name in the comments, followed by acquitted, because that is what just happened. 2 items remaining. Stay for every word.
I am going to tell you exactly what is going to happen in the 24 hours that follow this message, not in vague spiritual language, in the specific, observable language of your ordinary daily life. Because the God of heaven does not only operate in extraordinary moments, he operates most frequently inside the ordinary. A thought that arrives with unusual clarity, a door opening through a completely mundane, unremarkable process, a sentence spoken by an unexpected source that lands with weight completely disproportionate to its apparent size. Pay attention to these things. Heaven communicates through them constantly with the spirits tuned in to receive. Within 24 hours of receiving this message, you're going to notice something that, under ordinary circumstances, you would have filed immediately under coincidence and forgotten. I am telling you now, do not file it under coincidence. It may arrive as a number appearing in your environment with a frequency you cannot explain, not because numbers hold supernatural power in themselves, but because God uses pattern recognition to confirm to a spirit already in alignment that something is moving. It may arrive as a conversation that turns in a direction you did not steer, as a name surfacing in your consciousness from nowhere, as a physical shift in your body, a release of tension you had normalized so completely you no longer noticed it as tension, suddenly letting go, a warmth in your chest, a settling of something that has been unsettled for months. When you notice it, and you will notice it, because you will be watching for it. Receive it as what it is, the first visible evidence that today was real, that the sealed areas were genuinely opened, that the words spoken over you today carried every ounce of authority behind them that I told you they carried. Beyond the 24-hour signal, there are specific movements to watch for across the days and weeks ahead. A person is going to approach you with an opportunity that appears, on its visible surface, smaller than what your situation requires. Do not dismiss it at the surface. The entrance point is modest, but the depth of what it opens behind that entrance is not modest at all. Accept it. Take the first step before the full staircase is visible to you. The staircase is there. A financial development will occur in a direction you were not watching, not through the channel you have been praying about, through a different direction entirely. Do not disqualify it because it did not arrive through the door you had identified. God is not limited to the channels you have imagined as possible. He moves through channels you have not yet thought of, because He designed the whole system, and you have only seen a portion of it, and a heaviness you have been carrying in a specific relationship, a parent, a sibling, an adult child, a long-term friendship that has grown complicated and heavy. That heaviness is going to lift. Not because the circumstances of the relationship have changed yet, because your perspective on the person will shift. Something will become clear to you. The reason they are the way they are, the wound they are carrying, that produces the behavior that wounds you. Why what they do that hurts you is their symptom and not your verdict. That clarity will transform how you carry the relationship. And a lighter carry changes everything. Watch for all of this. Your eyes are open. Your spirit is tuned. Heaven is about to be strikingly active in your visible world, and a watching spirit is a receiving spirit. Write in the comments. Say it out loud and mean it. I am watching. I am expectant. My signal is coming.
The fifth photograph from today's envelope, and this one belongs to the 24 hours ahead of you. Look at this image and understand. What is shown here is what is already in motion on your behalf in the unseen realm right now. Heaven is not waiting. Write in the comments, I am ready for my signal. One photograph and one card remain in this envelope. The letter is moving to its most powerful moment. You must stay.
I am going to speak now about something that most messages from heaven address too quickly and too lightly, and I will not make that error today. The women receiving this message who have been fighting quietly for years, not in dramatic, visible ways that earn recognition, but in the invisible, daily, exhausting way that only God has observed. Those women need to understand something about the season that is ending and the season that is beginning. The quiet fight is the hardest fight. Anyone can be courageous when the battle is visible and the stakes are acknowledged and other people know what you are enduring. The true test of faith, the one that defines the core of a person, is whether you kept believing, kept praying, kept showing up in your ordinary life with something intact inside you that could have been broken when nobody was watching, when there was no audience for your perseverance, when the only one who knew what you were carrying was the God you were trusting in the dark. Hear me. Heaven watched every day of that quiet fight. Every morning you got up and continued, when continuing made no visible sense. Every night you committed your situation back to God when the silence had lasted so long it might have been mistaken for absence. Every act of faithfulness that went unnoticed by every human being in your life, recorded, documented with precision. None of it was invisible to the throne. None of it was deemed ordinary or routine. What you did in secret has been seen in the most public courtroom in existence, the courts of heaven. And today, the compensation for that quiet faithfulness is being authorized and released. The Bible does not waste its words. When it tells you that God rewards those who diligently seek Him, not merely those who find Him in dramatic fashion, but those who seek with diligence, with consistency, with a faithfulness that does not depend on constant visible confirmation, it means something precise. The reward is proportional to the diligence, and the diligence you have demonstrated across years of quiet, unwitnessed faithfulness is about to produce something proportional. What is coming for you is not a participation prize. It is not a gentle consolation for a hard season. It is the full return on a full investment, one that heaven valued at a rate far exceeding what any earthly system could calculate. You will not believe the proportion of it when it arrives. You will weep at the precision of it, at how specifically it addresses the specific losses of the specific years. That precision is not coincidence. It is the evidence of a God who was watching every detail of every day that felt unwitnessed. Hold on. It is coming. The fullness of it is coming. And it begins from today. Write in the comments, "My quiet faithfulness was seen. My full reward is coming now."
The fifth prediction card. This one, when I read it preparing for today, this was the one I needed to stop on. Read it for yourself now. Read it as the specific word that heaven has been waiting to say to you about the years no one saw. Write in the comments, "I was seen." One photograph and one card left in this envelope. Stay for every word. The closing of this letter is the reason it was sealed.
I have saved the final word of this letter for the final minutes, because it is the kind of truth that needs everything else to have been said first before it lands in the deepest place. You have prayed every prayer on this list at some point in your life. You have prayed for the finances. You have prayed for the relationship. You have prayed for the body. You have prayed for protection from the hidden enemy. You have prayed for the past to stop defining the present. You have prayed for your 40 days, or the equivalent of them, under whatever name you gave that kind of concentrated hoping. You have prayed. Some of these prayers have been prayed for years, some of them with tears, some of them barely, whispered through exhaustion, with almost no confidence that the words were finding anywhere to land. Every single one of those prayers arrived. Not one of them dissolved into the air. Not one of them hit a ceiling and fell back. Not one of them was deemed too small for God's attention or too large for His ability. Every prayer you have ever prayed, in your kitchen, in your car, in the dark before dawn, when the weight woke you up and sleep refused to return, in the moment, before you spoke a single word, in the exhaled breath that had no formal language, but was the truest cry your spirit ever made. Every one of them arrived at the throne and is now, today, being compiled into a response. The response will not look like a list of separate answers to separate prayers. The response will look like a season. A period of time, beginning from today, during which the accumulated weight of every answered prayer arrives together, in waves, in the specific and appropriate sequence that heaven designed when it was assembling the response. You will be in the middle of receiving one blessing, and another will already be arriving at the edge of your vision. You will barely have processed the gratitude for one breakthrough before the conditions for the next one have already been arranged. This is how heaven operates when the season of compensation arrives. It does not trickle. It does not apologize for its size. It pours, and it will pour over you, beginning today, in proportion to every prayer that was uttered in faith across the full span of your believing life. Receive this with open hands. Do not hedge it. Do not pre-apologize for the size of your hope. Do not protect yourself from disappointment by scaling down what you expect. Expect the fullness. Heaven is not offering less than that. Receive it all. Write in the comments, I receive the full answer to every prayer I have ever prayed. Mean it completely.
The sixth and final color photograph from today's envelope. I have been looking at this image since this morning, waiting to show it to you at the right moment. This is the final moment. Look at this. This is the visual of what the letter was working toward, what was sealed and sent for you today. Write in the comments what one word comes to you when you look at this image. Only one word. The final item in today's envelope comes next, and then the letter closes.
There is one thing I have been holding for the very end of this message. I held it here, deliberately, intentionally, because it is the kind of truth that lands differently when it arrives after everything else has been received. After the 3 sealed areas have been named and broken open, after the hidden opposition has been stripped of its license, after the 40-day window has been placed in your hands, after the past has been declared free, after the body has been commanded into alignment, after the reward for quiet faithfulness has been announced, after all of that has entered your spirit and found its place, then this final truth lands in the exact space that was cleared for it by everything that came before. Listen. You have never been as alone as your loneliest moment convinced you that you were. In the moment that felt most abandoned, the one that surfaces in your memory right now, without any effort on your part to locate it, because your body has stored the exact quality of that particular loneliness. In that moment, I was present, not observing from a distance, not watching from behind a veil, uninvolved, present, close enough that if the barrier between the spiritual and the natural had been any thinner in that moment, you would have felt the warmth of what surrounded you. You were not alone. You have never been alone. Not for a single breath, not for a single second, not on your worst day, not in your darkest night, not once in your entire life. The God who made you is not the remote administrator that distant religion describes. He is not managing the universe from a position of detached philosophical interest, noting your suffering as an unfortunate feature of a fallen world and redirecting his attention elsewhere. He is personal. He knows the name you answer to in public and the name no one else uses for you and the name you call yourself in the silent, unguarded interior of your own heart. He knows which memories you avoid and which ones you return to without meaning to. He knows what you want so deeply and have wanted so long without visible answer that you have almost stopped wanting it because the tender exposure of continued hope has started to feel more dangerous than the protection of resignation. He knows all of this. He has always known all of this. And he has not once, not in any moment of your history, looked at you with anything other than the specific, personal, absolute, and permanent love of a father for the child he fashioned with full intention and called exactly what he meant. Today, that love has taken action in your life, not because you finally crossed the threshold of sufficient faith, not because you finally prayed the right words in the right configuration, not as a reward for perseverance, though what you have persevered through would have broken many people, and heaven has observed every step of it, but because it was time, because the preparation season reached its conclusion and the manifestation season was authorized to begin. Because you arrived today in this specific moment in the story of your life, at the exact juncture where heaven assessed every piece of your situation and issued the decree, now. This is your now. Not next year. Not after one more lesson, one more valley, one more season of waiting that asks you to trust without seeing. Now. Today. The seal broken over your identity. Now. The door opened in your finances. Now. The restoration initiated in your relationships. Now. The drain of hidden opposition revoked. Now. The spiritual root beneath your physical symptoms severed. Now. The 40-day window opened. Now. The accusation over your past declared legally void. Now. The reward for your quiet faithfulness authorized now. Every single piece of what was delivered in this letter was for this version of you. This moment. This exact chapter of your life. Receive it. Not with the careful, half-open, please do not disappoint me again reception of someone who has been burned enough by hope to become afraid of it. With open hands, with the full authority of a woman who knows that the one who sent this message does not issue false reports, does not promise what he withholds, does not speak and then retreat. What he speaks happens. I am Michael. I will be present at your side tonight as you sleep. I will be standing in the room when your 40 days begin tomorrow morning. I will be in every corridor you walk through, every conversation you enter, every step you take toward the future that was written for you before the world knew your name. You will not always sense my presence, but I am there. I have always been there, and I will remain there, without interruption, without distraction, without reassignment, until the story of your life on this earth reaches the conclusion that God always intended for it. And that conclusion is not tragedy. It is not defeat. It is not the exhausted surrender of a life that ran out of road before it reached its destination. It is victory. It has always been victory. And today was one more step, one decisive step along that road. Go forward. Go in the fullness of what was spoken and sealed over you today. Go knowing you are loved with a love that cannot be canceled, protected by a guardian that cannot be defeated, and walking toward a future that was chosen for you before the world knew your name. This is the word of the Lord. Amen.
The final item from today's envelope. I saved this one for the very end because it was meant to be the last thing you receive from today's letter, not the last thing you hear, the last thing you hold. Read this, then write it in the comments. That is the last thing this envelope asks of you. That is everything that was sealed in today's envelope. I want to say something before you go, and this time it is not from the letter. This is from me. I picked up that first envelope this morning and set it down, and I have been thinking about why I did that all day. I think the reason is that what was in the second one, the one we just opened together, was so specifically prepared for whoever was going to be here today that it needed to be received first, without anything else competing for the space. And I believe that whoever you are, you knew that too. You felt it. That is why you are still here. Everything in this envelope today addressed something real, something you are actually carrying. The finances, the relationship, the body, the past, the quiet years no one saw. If you felt something move when one of those sections was read, if there was a moment where the weight in your chest shifted, even slightly, that movement is real. Do not explain it away. Heaven just touched something. Let it be touched. If this channel, Letters from Archangel Michael, has not yet found a permanent place in your watching, I want to ask you to subscribe before you leave today. Not because every video will feel exactly the way this one felt, but because some of them will. And the one that was most specifically prepared for the season you are about to enter. You will not want to miss it because you are not notified. The bell icon is one click. Use it. I am going to go open this one now, on my own, and next time I will tell you what was inside it. God bless you, for real, today. God bless you.